Friends, if I want to watch super hit movie Beauty and the Beast in English, then you must like this video. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Beauty and the Beast. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video, I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which I request friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. Beauty and the Beast is a 2017 American musical romantic fantasy film directed by Bill Condon from a screenplay by Steven Chbosky and Evan Spiliotopoulos. Produced by Walt Disney Pictures with Mandeville Films 1/6, it is a live-action, animated remake of Disney's 1991 animated film Beauty and the Beast, itself an adaptation of Jean-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont's version of the fairy tale Beauty and the Beast. Starring Emma Watson and Dan Stevens as the titular characters, the film features a supporting ensemble and choir cast including Luke Evans, Kevin Kline, Josh Gad, Ewan McGregor, Stanley Tucci, Audra McDonald, Gugu Mbatha Raw, Ian McKellen, and Emma Thompson. 8. The live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast was first announced in April 2014, with Condon attached to direct. The cast members signed on between January and April 2015, and filming took place primarily at Shepperton Studios in England from May to August of that year. The estimated production budget was around $255 million. Beauty and the Beast had its world premiere at Spencer House in London on February 23, 2017, followed by its US premiere at the El Capitan Theatre in Hollywood on March 2. It was then released theatrically in the United States in standard Disney Digital 3D, Real D 3D, IMAX, and IMAX 3D formats, as well as Dolby Cinema, on March 17, 9. The film received generally positive reviews from critics, who praised its cast, songs, and visual detail. 10. It grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide, becoming the second highest grossing film of 2017 and the 10th highest grossing film of all time. Amongst Disney's live-action remakes, it is the second highest grossing readaptation to date. The film received several accolades, including nominations for Best Production Design and Best Costume Design at the 90th Academy Awards. Plot: a selfish and unkind prince hosting a ball is visited in his castle by an enchantress disguised as a beggar woman, who offers him an enchanted rose in exchange for shelter from a storm. When he rebuffs her, she reveals her true form and transforms him into a beast, and his servants into household objects before erasing them from the memories of their loved ones. To break the curse, the prince must learn to love someone and have that person love him back before the rose sheds its last petal. Otherwise, he will remain a beast forever. Several years later, in a nearby village, Belle, the bookworm daughter of widowed artist Maurice, dreams of adventure while constantly rejecting advances from Gaston, an arrogant hunter and war veteran. One day, Maurice becomes lost in the forest and seeks refuge in the beast's castle. The beast imprisons him after he catches him stealing a rose from the garden for Belle. Belle offers to take her father's place as prisoner. The beast agrees. Belle meets the castle's servants, including Candelabra Lumiere, Mantle Clock Cogsworth, Feather Duster Plumette, Teapot Mrs. Potts, and her son, Chip, a teacup. When she finds the rose, the beast angrily forces her to flee outside. Belle is ambushed by wolves, and the beast rescues her, getting injured in the process. As she nurses his wounds, they bond. He shows her a gift from the enchantress, a book that transports readers to their desired location. She visits her childhood home in Paris, where she discovers a plague doctor's mask and realizes that when she was an infant, she forcibly departed with her father after her mother's death from the bubonic plague, which Maurice was hesitant to reveal. In the village, Maurice fails to convince the other villagers of the beast. Gaston, believing that rescuing Belle could win her hand in marriage, agrees to help him. When Maurice discovers his ulterior motive, Gaston abandons him to be devoured by wolves. Maurice is rescued by the town hermit Agath, but Gaston convinces the village to send Maurice to an insane asylum. Belle discovers Maurice's predicament via a magic mirror. The beast releases her to save him. Arriving back in town, she reveals the beast via the mirror, shocking the townsfolk and proving her father's sanity. Realizing Belle has fallen for the beast, Gaston jealously has her thrown into the asylum carriage with Maurice, then rallies the villagers to slay the beast. Belle tells Maurice about her mother's death, and the two escape. Gaston attacks the depressed beast, who regains his spirit upon seeing Belle return. He spares Gaston's life, but Gaston shoots the beast from an unstable bridge. Its collapse sends Gaston falling to his death. The beast dies just as the last petal falls, and the servants become inanimate objects. As Belle tearfully professes her love to him, Agathe reveals herself as the enchantress and undoes the curse, restoring the beast and his servants to their human forms, along with the villagers. Memories. Belle and the Prince hosts a ball for the kingdom. Cast: Emma Watson as Belle, a bright and spirited bibliophile who rejects the monotony of provincial life and yearns for life beyond the confines of her village. Daisy Duchesneau as Baby Belle. Dan Stevens as the Beast, a spoiled and arrogant prince who has been transformed into a monstrous, talking beast and forced to earn back his humanity by learning to truly love and be loved in return. Stevens portrays the character through motion capture. Adam Mitchell as Young Prince. Luke Evans as Gaston, a narcissistic and arrogant hunter and veteran of the French Royal Army who seeks to have Belle as his trophy wife. Kevin Kline as Maurice, Belle's protective widowed father who works as a music box maker and an artist. Julian Coy as young Maurice. Josh Gad as LeFou, Gaston's flamboyant, illiterate, animal-loving and long-suffering sidekick who bolsters his friend's ego but often disagrees with his decisions. Ewan McGregor as Lumiere, the beast's charismatic Meta who has been transformed into a candelabra. Stanley Tucci as Cadenza, a neurotic composer who is described as a neurotic maestro, and Madame de Garderobe's husband who has been transformed into a harpsichord. Audra McDonald as Madame de Garderobe, a world-renowned opera singer and Cadenza's wife who has been transformed into a wardrobe. Gugu Mbatha-Raw as Plumette, a castle maid and Lumiere's lover who has been transformed into a feather duster. Hattie Morahan as Agathe, an enchantress responsible for cursing the prince and who lives incognito in Belle's village as a hag. Morahan also narrates the prologue. Rita Davies as Old Woman, the enchantress's beggar disguise. The film was released posthumously after Davies's death. Nathan Mack as Chip, Mrs. Potts' plucky son who has been transformed into a teacup. Ian McKellen as Cogsworth, the beast's strict but loyal butler and the head of the household staff who has been transformed into a mantel clock. Emma Thompson as Mrs. Potts, the castle's motherly head housekeeper who has been transformed into a teapot. The film also features Thomas Patton as Chapeau, the prince's valet who has been transformed into a coat rack, and Clive Rowe as Cuisinier, the castle's head chef who has been transformed into a stove. Additionally, Sophie Reid, Raphael Cohen, and Carla Nella appear as the village lasses, a trio of women who fawn over Gaston and are jealous of Belle. Jimmy Johnston, Dean Street, and Alexis Loizon appear as Tom, Dick, and Stanley, a trio of men who are friends with Gaston and LeFou and serve as the former's henchmen. Adrian Schiller appears as Monsieur Darc, the sly warden of the local asylum, who is bribed by Gaston to have Maurice institutionalized. Gerard Horan appears as Monsieur Jean Potts, Mrs. Potts' husband and Chip's father. Hayden Gwynn appears as Clothild, a fishmonger and Cogsworth's wife. Michael Gibson appears as the tavern keeper, the owner and keeper of Villeneuve's local tavern. Ray Fearon appears as Père Robert, Villeneuve's local chaplain who encourages Belle to borrow the books in the chapel's meager library. Zoe Rainey appears as Belle's mother, Maurice's late wife who contracted the plague and died when Belle was an infant. Gizmo appears as Frou Frou, Maestro Cadenza's and Madame de Garderobe's pet Yorkshire Terrier who has been transformed into a footstool. Tom Turner appears as the king, the prince's father who, following his wife's death, raised his son to be just as arrogant and selfish as he was. Harriet Jones appears as the queen, the prince's mother who died of an illness when he was a child. Dale Branston appears as Villeneuve's resident baker. Chris Andrew Mellon appears as Nasty Headmaster, the unnamed headmaster of an all-boys school in Villeneuve that disapproves of Belle teaching a young girl how to read. Vivian Perry appears as the village lass's mother, an unnamed seamstress. Stephen Merchant was set to appear as Monsieur Toilette, a servant who was turned into a toilet, but his scenes were cut from the theatrical release of the film. Production development. Previously, Disney had begun work on a film adaptation of the 1994 Broadway musical. However, in a 2011 interview, composer Alan Menken stated the planned film version of the Beauty and the Beast stage musical was canned. By April 2014, Walt Disney Pictures had already begun developing a new live-action version of Beauty and the Beast, after making other live-action fantasy films such as Alice in Wonderland, Maleficent, Cinderella, and The Jungle Book. 2 months later, Bill Condon signed on to direct the film from a script by Evan Spiliotopoulos. Later in September of that same year, Steven Chbosky, who directed Emma Watson in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, was hired to rewrite the script. Before Condon was hired to direct the film, Disney approached him with a proposal to remake the film in a more radical way, as Universal Studios had remade Snow White and the Huntsman 2012. Condon later explained that, after Frozen opened, the studio saw that there was this big international audience for an old-school musical approach. But initially they said, "We're interested in a musical to a degree, but only half full of songs. My interest was taking that film and doing it in this new medium, live action, as a full-on musical movie. So I backed out for a minute and they came back and said, no, we get it, let's pursue it that way." Walt Disney Pictures president of production Sean Bailey credited Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan F. Horn with the decision to make the film as a musical. "We worked on this for 5 or 6 years, and for 18 months to 2 years, Beauty was a serious dramatic project and the scripts were written to reflect that. It wasn't a musical at that time, but we just couldn't get it to click, and it was Alan Horn who championed the idea of owning the Disney of it all. We realized theretofore." The film's ending originally featured Gaston being cursed by the Enchantress, though the idea was scrapped. Casting. In January 2015, it was announced that Emma Watson had been cast as Belle, the female lead. She was the first and only choice of Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan F. Horn, who had previously run Warner Bros., which released the 8 Harry Potter films that starred Watson as Hermione Granger. Watson had previously been attached to star in Guillermo del Toro's film adaptation of the original fairy tale for Warner Bros., but the project never materialized. Susan Egan, who originated the role of Belle in the 1994 Broadway musical, commented on the casting of Watson as perfect, while Paige O'Hara, who voiced Belle in the original 1991 animated film, said, "I think that if I were producing that movie, Emma Watson would have been my first choice for Belle. I was just really happy they went with Emma. She's got the intelligence, she's got the humor. I think she's going to be really, really special." Watson was paid $3 million up front, with an agreement that her final take-home pay could rise as high as $15 million if the film generated gross box office income similar to the $758 million worldwide gross of Maleficent. Months later, Luke Evans and Dan Stevens were reported to be in talks to play Gaston and the Beast respectively, and Watson confirmed their casting the next day on Twitter. Idris Elba also auditioned for the role of Gaston. The rest of the principal cast, including Josh Gad, Emma Thompson, Kevin Kline, Audra McDonald, Ian McKellen, Gugumbetha Raw, Ewan McGregor, and Stanley Tucci were announced between March and April to play LeFou, Mrs. Potts, Maurice, Madame de Garderobe, Cogsworth, Plumette, Lumiere, and Cadenza, respectively. Filming principal photography began on May 18, 2015, taking place at Shepperton Studios in Surrey, England, nearby in the village of Cranley, and in Laycock, Wiltshire. The massive movie set of the fictional provincial town of Villeneuve, named after the author of the original fairy tale, Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve, was inspired by the town of Conques in southern France, and measured 28,787 square feet, 2,670 meters squares. Filming with the principal actors concluded on August 21st. 6 days later, co-producer Jack Morrissey confirmed that production had officially wrapped. The castle in the film was inspired by the Château de Chambord in France. The Beast was portrayed with a more traditional motion capture puppeteering for the body and the physical orientation, where actor Dan Stevens was in a 40-pound gray suit on stilts for much of the film. The facial capture for the Beast was done separately in order to communicate the subtleties of the human face and capture the thought that occurs to him, which gets through to the eyes, which are the last human element in the Beast. The castle servants who were transformed into household objects were created with CGI animation. One concern was that one wrong step could lead to one of Stevens's steel stilts crushing one of Watson's feet, which could have severely disrupted production. To minimize that risk, the actors spent 3 months in pre-production and rigorously rehearsed their scenes. For the film's iconic dance scene, they initially practiced Walt's steps on the ground, then Stevens learned how to walk on stilts, and then he learned how to waltz on stilts. Prior to the film's release, Bill Condon refilmed one certain sequence in the Days in the Sun number due to confusion among test audiences caused by actress Harriet Jones, who looked similar to Hattie Morahan, who portrayed Agatha. In the original version of the scene, it was Jones's character, the prince's mother, who sings the first verse of the song, with Rudy Goodman playing the young prince and Henry Garrett playing his father. But in the reshot version of the scene, the singing part is given to the prince, now played by Adam Mitchell. The king was also recast to Tom Turner, although Harriet Jones was still the queen, albeit with dark hair. Both Goodman and Garrett's names were mistakenly featured in the original theatrical release's credits, but was later corrected in home releases. Music main article, Beauty and the Beast, 2017 soundtrack. When released in 1991, Beauty and the Beast marked a turning point for Walt Disney Pictures by appealing to millions of fans with its Academy Award-winning musical score by lyricist Howard Ashman and composer Alan Menken. In Bill Condon's opinion, that original score was the key reason he agreed to direct a live-action version of the film. That score had more to reveal, he says. You look at the songs and there's not a clunker in the group. In fact, Frank Rich described it as the best Broadway musical of 1991. The animated version was already darker and more modern than the previous Disney fairy tales. Take that vision, put it into a new medium, make it a radical reinvention, something not just for the stage because it's not just being literal, now other elements come into play. It's not just having real actors do it. Condon initially prepared on only drawing inspiration from the original film, but he also planned to include most of the songs composed by Menken, Ashman, and Tim Rice from the Broadway musical, with the intention of making the film as a straightforward, live-action, large-budget movie musical. Menken returned to score the film's music, which features songs from the original film by him and Ashman, plus new material written by him and Rice. Menken said the film would not include songs that were written for the Broadway musical, and, instead, created 4 new songs. However, an instrumental version of the song Home, which was written for the musical, is used during the scene where Belle first enters her room in the castle. On January 19, 2017, both Disney and Celine Dion, singer of the original 1991 Beauty and the Beast duet song, with singer Peabo Bryson, confirmed that Dion would be performing one of the new original songs, How Does a Moment Last Forever, to play over the end titles. She originally had doubts about whether or not to record the song due to the recent death of her husband and manager Renee Angelil, who had previously helped her secure the 1991 pop duet. While ultimately accepting the opportunity, she said, "The first Beauty and the Beast decision was made with my husband. Now I'm making decisions on my own. It's a little bit harder. I couldn't say yes right away because I felt like I was kind of cheating in a way." She eventually felt compelled to record the song because of the impact Beauty and the Beast has had on her career. According to Dion, "I was at the beginning of my career. It put me on the map. It put me where I am today." Also, Josh Groban was announced to be performing the new original song Evermore 6 days later. The 2017 film features a remake of the 1991 original song recorded as a duet by Ariana Grande and John Legend. Grande and Legend's updated version of the title song is faithful to the original, Grammy-winning duet performed by Celine Dion and Peabo Bryson for the 1991 Disney film. Disney debuted the music video for Ariana Grande and John Legend's interpretation of the title song on Freeform Television Network on March 5, 2017, and it has since been viewed over 250 million times on the Vivo video hosting service. Emma Thompson also performed the title song, which was performed by Angela Lansbury in the original 1991 animated film. Marketing. Disney spent around $140 million to market the film worldwide. Disney premiered the first official teaser trailer on Good Morning America in May 2016. In its first 24 hours, the teaser trailer reached 91.8 million views, which was the largest number ever seen for a trailer in that amount of time. This record has since been broken by Thor: Ragnarok, and Avengers: Infinity War. The first official teaser poster was released on July 7, 2016. On November 2, 2016, Entertainment Weekly debuted the first official image on the cover of their magazine, along with 9 new photos. 1 week later, Emma Watson and Disney debuted a new poster. On November 14, 2016, the first theatrical trailer was released, again on Good Morning America. This reached 127.6 million views in its first 24 hours, setting a new record for the most views in one day, beating 50 Shades Darker. This record has since been broken by The Fate of the Furious. A TV spot with Watson singing was shown during the 74th Golden Globe Awards. Disney released the final trailer on January 30, 2017. Theatrical. The world premiere of Beauty and the Beast took place as a Spencer House Royal World charity event in London on February 23, 2017. The U.S. premiere was held at the El Capitan Theatre in Hollywood on March 2, 2017. The stream was broadcast on YouTube, citation needed. A sing-along version of the film released in over 1,200 U.S. theaters nationwide on April 7, 2017. The United Kingdom received the same version on April 21, 2017. The film was re-released in New York City and Los Angeles for a 1-week engagement starting December 1, 2017. The movie was an awards push as the 2017-18 awards season heated up. On March 16, 2015, Disney announced the film would be released in 3D on March 17, 2017. The first official presentation of the film took place at Disney's 3-day D23 Expo in August 2015. On February 10, 2017, IMAX announced that the film would have an expanded aspect ratio of 1.901, revealing 26% more picture, only in IMAX theaters. Home media. Beauty and the Beast was released on Blu-ray, DVD, Blu-ray 3D, and Digital HD on June 6, 2017. The film debuted at number 1 on the NPD Video Scan overall disc sales chart, with all other titles in the top 20, collectively selling only 40% as many units as Beauty and the Beast. The film regained the top spot on the national home video sales charts during its 3rd week of release. Overall, the film made a revenue of $85 million from home video sales with 4.3 million units sold, making it the second best-selling film of 2017 behind Moana. 90. Beauty and the Beast was released on 4K Blu-ray and on digital movie copy 4K Ultra HD streamable version downloadable format on March 10, 2020, concurrently along with the original animated feature film. Box office. Beauty and the Beast grossed $504 million in the United States and Canada and $759.5 million in other countries for a worldwide gross of $1.263 billion. With a production budget of $254 million, it is the most expensive musical ever made. In just 10 days, it became the highest-grossing live-action musical of all time, beating the 9-year-old record held by Mamma Mia. It also became the second biggest musical ever overall at the time, behind Disney's Frozen, 2013. Worldwide, the film proved to be a global phenomenon, earning a total of $357 million over its 4-day opening weekend from 56 markets. Critics said the film was playing like superhero movies amongst women. It was the second biggest March global opening, behind only Batman v Superman. Dawn of Justice, the 13th biggest worldwide opening ever and the 7th biggest for Disney. This includes $21 million from IMAX plays on 1,026 screens, a new record for an IMAX PG title. It surpassed the entire lifetime total of the original film in just 6 days. Beauty and the Beast was the 300th digitally remastered release in IMAX company's history, which began with the re-release of Apollo 13 in 2002. Its robust global debut helped push the company past $6 billion for the first time, and led to analysts believing that the film had a shot of passing $1 billion worldwide from theatrical earnings. On April 12, it passed the $1 billion threshold, becoming the first film of 2017, the 14th Disney film, and the 29th film overall to pass the mark. It became the first film since Rogue One, a Star Wars story, also a Disney property, in December 2016 to make over $1 billion, and did so on its 29th day of release. It is currently the second highest grossing film of 2017, behind Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the highest grossing March release, the highest grossing remake of all time, and the sixth biggest Disney film. Even after inflation adjusted, it is still ahead of the $425 million gross, $760 million in 2017 of the original film. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $414.7 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent participations, and other costs. Box office grosses and home media revenues placed it second on their list of 2017's most valuable blockbusters. United States and Canada. In the United States and Canada, Beauty and the Beast topped Fandango's pre-sales and became the fastest-selling family film in the company's history, topping the studio's own animated film Finding Dory, released the previous year. Early tracking had the film grossing around $100 million in its opening weekend, with some publications predicting it could reach $130 million. By the time the film's release was 10 days away, analysts raised projections to as high as $150 million. It earned $16.3 million from Thursday previews night, marking the biggest of 2017, breaking Logan's record, the biggest ever for a Disney live-action film, breaking Maleficent's record, the second biggest ever for both a G or PG-rated film, behind the sixth Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and the third biggest ever in the month of March, behind Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and The Hunger Games. An estimated 41% of the gross came from IMAX, 3D, and premium large-format screenings, which began at 6 p.m., while the rest, 59%, came from regular 2D shows, which began at 7 p.m. The numbers were considered more impressive, given that the film played during a school week. On its opening day, the film made $63.8 million in 210 theaters across 9,200 screens, marking the third biggest in the month of March, trailing behind Batman v Superman, $81.5 million, and The Hunger Games, $67 million. It was also the biggest opening day ever for a film that wasn't PG-13, displacing the $58 million opening Wednesday of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Its opening day alone, which includes Thursday's previews, almost matched the entire opening weekend of previous Disney live-action films: Maleficent, $69.4 million, and Cinderella, $67.9 million. Unlike all previous four Disney live-action films witnessing a hike on their second day, Saturday, Beauty and the Beast actually fell 2%. Nevertheless, the dip was paltry, and the grosses are so much greater in comparison to the other titles. Earning a total of $174.8 million on its opening weekend, it defied all expectations and went on to set numerous notable records. This includes the biggest opening of the year, as well as the biggest for the month of March and pre-summer spring opening, beating Batman v Superman, the biggest start ever for a PG title, also for a family film, surpassing Finding Dory until it was later surpassed by Incredibles 2, the biggest debut of all time for a female-led film, ahead of The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, the biggest for a Disney live-action adaptation, ahead of Alice in Wonderland, and the biggest live-action musical and musical debuts ever, supplanting Pitch Perfect 2 and The Lorax, respectively. Furthermore, it is also Watson's highest opening, beating Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, same with Emma Thompson, director Bill Condon's biggest debut ever, ahead of The Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Part 2, and the biggest outside of summer, save for Star Wars The Force Awakens, not accounting for inflation. It became the 43rd film to debut with over $100 million and the 15th film to open above $150 million. Its three-day opening alone surpassed the entire original North American run of the first film, $146 million before the 3D re-release, instantly becoming the second biggest film of the year, behind Logan, $184 million, and the second highest grossing musical, behind Grease's $188 million cumulative gross in 1978. Out of the total ticket sales, 70% came from 2D showings, thus signifying that people who don't go to theaters frequently came out in bulk to watch the film. About 26% of the remaining tickets were for 3D. IMAX accounted for 7%, $12.5 million, of the total weekend's gross, setting a new record for a PG title, ahead of Alice in Wonderland, $12.1 million, while PLF repped 11% of the box office. The film's opening day demographic, around 70%, were female, dropping to 60% through the weekend. According polling service PostTrack, about 84% of American parents who saw the film on its opening day said they would definitely recommend it for families. The film's opening was credited to positive word of mouth from audiences, good reviews from critics, effective marketing which sold the title not just as a family film but also as a romantic drama, the cast's star power, namely Emma Watson, lack of competition, being the first family film since the Lego Batman movie a month earlier, nostalgia, and the success and ubiquity of the first film and Disney's brand. On Monday, its fourth day of release, the film fell precipitously by 72%, earning $13.5 million. The steep fall was due to a limited marketplace where only 11% K-12 and 15% colleges were off per ComScore. Nevertheless, it is the second biggest March Monday, behind Batman v Superman, $15 million. This was followed by the biggest March and pre-summer Tuesday with $17.8 million, a 32% increase from its previous day. The same day, the film passed $200 million in ticket sales. It earned $228.6 million in the first week of release, the sixth biggest 7-day gross of all time. In its second weekend, the film continued to maintain the top positioning and fell gradually by 48%, earning another $90.4 million to register the fourth biggest second weekend of all time and the third biggest for Disney. In terms of percentage drop, its 48% decline is the third smallest drop for any film opening above $125 million, behind Finding Dory and The Force Awakens. The hold was notable considering how the film was able to fend off 3 new wide releases: Power Rangers, Life, Chips, and Wilson. As a result, it passed the $300 million threshold, becoming the first film of 2017 to pass said mark. The film grossed $45.4 million in its third weekend, finally being overtaken for the top spot by newcomer The Boss Baby, $50.2 million. On April 4, 2017, its 19th day of release, it passed the $400 million threshold, becoming the first film of 2017 to do so. By its fourth weekend, the film was playing in 369 cinemas, a fall of 241 theaters from its previous weekend. Of those, approximately 1,200 cinemas were sing-along versions. It earned $26.3 million, 48%, and retained second place. By comparison, previous Disney films Moana -8% and Frozen -2% both witnessed mild percentage declines the weekend their sing-alone versions were released. Its seventh weekend of release was in contemporaneous with another Emma Watson starring new film The Circle. That weekend, The Circle was number 4, while Beauty and the Beast was at number 6. By May 28, the film had earned over $500 million in ticket sales, becoming the first film of 2017, until it was later surpassed by The Last Jedi, the third female-led film, after The Force Awakens and Rogue One, followed by Wonder Woman and The Last Jedi, and the 8th overall film in cinematic history to pass the mark. It has already become the biggest March release, dethroning The Hunger Games 2012, the biggest musical film, both animated and live-action, as well as the second biggest film of 2017 after The Last Jedi. In July 2020, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic closing most theaters and limiting new releases, Beauty and the Beast returned to 527 theaters, mostly drive-ins, and grossed $467,000. Distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. Release dates: February 23, 2017 in Spencer House, March 2, 2017 in El Capitan Theater, March 17, 2027 in United States, running 129 minutes, country United States, language English, budget $255 million, box office $1.266 billion. So guys, this is their review of Beauty and the Beast movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.